Wagwan people, me man, Mr. B, as usual, when we come on this thing, we have stuff we wanna cover. But my talk this evening is about the Chinese garage that has opened up in Jamaica and the impact that it is having, not only on the business of motor vehicle repairs and servicing in Jamaica, but also on the psyche of the country at this time. In fact, the first time I saw something with this Chinese thing was actually a little skit that one of my YouTube and Facebook participants posted, and it was kind of satire. At least that's what I thought until when I went to Champs. When was that? Late last month, and the whole story kind of just blew up. Now, let me say this: the Jamaican environment, social, economic, is really, really ripe for the kind of recolonization that is taking place. Because essentially, that's what has happened to Jamaica. The Chinese have been playing a big role in the structure of the Jamaican economy for more than 100 years, in fact, more than 200 years. And so, they came here as indentured laborers towards the end of the slavery period in the first half of the 1800s. And they basically just never left. What has happened subsequent to that is different waves of Chinese immigrants have ventured into Jamaica. In fact, there was a point at which Jamaica became a staging ground for a lot of Chinese who immigrated out of China into Jamaica, to using Jamaica as a sort of a launching ground to get into the United States. Everybody want to come America. But I'm digressing. The current garage business, when you see Jamaicans line up with them car from 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and by the time the place open for business at 7, 8 o'clock, more than 100 cars is lined up on the roadway waiting to get serviced. It speaks to a lack within the Jamaican space. Now, years ago when I lived in Jamaica, I had a business that I had a couple of trucks on the road. I had some vans, trucks, and a couple of, personal and business motor cars. And the experience with dealing with motor vehicle mechanics in Jamaica is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. In fact, I remember once we broke the engine of one of the trucks. Apparently, the camshaft needed to be repaired, or to be, apparently the camshaft bent and so on. And so I went to an auto supply company because I refused to put this in the hand of the mechanic. And the price that they gave me for the camshaft, if I was to have bought it at that point, would have been almost half of the cost of the truck. So I jumped on a plane, and I headed into the United States. In fact, I took the damaged camshaft with me, which I had to pay because the damn thing heavy. And when I got to the dealer, this was for an Isuzu truck, what they charged me for the camshaft, even without the damage, because you get some discounts with the damage. The initial price for the damage for the new camshaft was about 25% of what I was going to be charged if I had bought it in Jamaica, right? 25%, including what I calculated the duties to have been. And so that was just the start. Um, Now that the Chinese are doing this thing, what you're hearing is a lot of horror stories about, people who take them car to them regular mechanic who they've grown up with over the years. And these mechanics are charging some inordinate amounts, inordinate sums of money to do basic servicing. Even if we look at general repairs, um, when they take the vehicle to the Chinese, the cost for doing the same job is significantly less than what our local counterparts are charging. And so essentially, we look at this thing and people have all sorts of comments, critiques. The obvious thing though is that the consumer is the one who is the greatest beneficiary. And so from that perspective, you kind of wonder, why don't these Chinese literally photocopy this business model throughout the island, which I'm telling you, all other things being equal, that is exactly what is going to happen. And so you look back and, people say, but why are we bringing the Chinaman them and we give them everything? You know why? Because the Chinaman them, first of all, they're far more aggressive than we are. We're aggressive in a different sense. But these Chinese, they're aggressive in terms of their ability to pursue a business idea, a concept. They come there because clearly this is not what they came there for. They came into Jamaica to provide this kind of service for the multitude of vehicles that the Chinese who were working on the highway construction and other construction projects. They came there to service those vehicles, and it was only a matter of time before, having seen what's happening with the cost of doing the same job for the domestic population, they have just ramped up. Now, there's an issue too about licensing. Clearly, whatever them doing is legitimate in terms of the structure of the business. But then there's the question now about work permits. And we could spend the whole day discussing that. My thing is, that is for the state to deal with, right? But I don't think anybody is complaining for being able to benefit from what is being reported as completely better service. And so here we have a industry in Jamaica, the motor vehicle repair business. And instead of we as Jamaicans who look like me, right, design a business program that caters to the needs of the domestic population, what we do is that we rip off each other. So implicit in those decisions that the domestic mechanics have made, and even some of the dealers there who are service the cars that they sell to the car buyers, what these people are saying to you is, on a thief on our own clientele. And so they are basically responding to that. There is a need, and so they are filling a need. As far as the work permits go, that are for them and the government for work out. But my understanding is that them Chinaman know the culture, especially of our public officials. So it shouldn't be a big issue, them addressing the work permit problem. Problem is though that we shoot ourselves in our own feet by virtue of our own dishonesty, how we deal with each other, how we try to to rip each other off, right? And so those horror stories, people are running away from those horror stories. Now, a garage or a mechanic shop basically exists in almost every nook and cranny in Jamaica. Maybe we get a chance to get rid of some of them, you know. Me not have no sympathy for them, man. Me I tell you the truth, because that's what happened to me when we used to run my business back home. I'm at the mercy of these criminal. In fact, me had a Toyota Hiace van, and we used to apparently it had a problem with the engine, and when I did the numbers, it was cheaper to just buy another engine and put in it. And I figure when I keep the 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 damaged engine so the mechanic can take it for parts. Well, about a year later, we had a situation where we figure, I think it was a water pump issue. We could have taken off the water pump off it. When we go there, the damn mechanic sell me engine. And then one bad man, me have to literally, back out me gun upon him. Because if it almost come down to that. And those are the things that me decide to, me don't really want to get in at them kind of thing with nobody. But that are the culture of criminality, even at that stage. And so, me not have no sorry for Jamaica mechanic man them. Because if they never create this kind of situation, there wouldn't be a demand for the services from these people. So, what drop off a head, drop on shoulder. Tell me what you guys think about what I say. If you like the video, just hit the like button, share with your friends, and of course, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, so that more of these discussions, we can have them from time to time, more time.